All right, Emily. I'm perhaps the most excited about this episode of any that we've ever recorded.
Okay.
Because you don't know what we're doing.
I have no clue. All you did is text me, I have a surprise for the next episode, and I'm not sure you'll like it.
Yeah, so I would say there's at least a 60% chance you just say I'm not doing this.
Oh, okay.
And I hope,
and then
but the option seems to be like you probably should, so that we have an episode. But what you maybe don't know is I used to have a podcast called Hot Thoughts. Have I ever talked to you about this?
I do know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
So what we would do is you'd have 5 spicy wings, and we would talk about 5 spicier questions.
Okay.
And so what I would like to do is give you 5 different hot sauces that get like pretty hot.
Okay.
And ask you 5 related questions.
Done.
Can I do that?
Can do it.
All right.
Can I have some water or something?
Yeah, I think Dustin could get us some water if he needs. This
I'm
might be a
almost
good
out.
palate cleanser. And I'm going to move this mic real quick, and I'm going to set up our table real quick. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to have 5 sauces. I brought 6 because I want to give you an opportunity to exchange one if you need to.
I appreciate that.
But they're all pretty hot.
Is there chicken, or am I just dipping my finger in the sauce?
No, I got some pop chips.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
All right.
Keep that. Sriracha. Okay. I can do sriracha. I am kind of a baby when it comes to hot sauces. I'm just going to let you know that. And I may cry. But if you're okay with having me cry on camera, I am okay with it.
I think there's a 100% chance you're going to cry.
Oh my God.
So, but
are you going to eat this with me?
Yeah, in solidarity, I'll eat them with you.
Okay,
so,
that's cool.
Right now, they're in no particular order, so I'll let you know which one we're going to start with. So we're going to start with Anderson Pepper Company. Don't touch the baby. It's a habanero one. I think it's not very spicy, so we might be starting too hot for you.
Why aren't we working our way up?
We are. This, I think,
This is less hot than sriracha?
Do you think sriracha's hot?
Not that hot.
Oh, great. Then we'll start with sriracha. Great. Here, grab sriracha for me. And why don't you dab up your chip? Get us both a chip. You'll be in charge of dabbing us for this since you've got them. And so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want you to answer it. And I might add some feedback too if it's a question that's not uniquely just to me. But the first question is,
wait, how much is appropriate?
Oh, with sriracha. I mean, you can put some on. You can go hard on sriracha, right?
Sure.
I'll take that too. I love sriracha.
Do I go now?
Yeah, sure. Because I'll ask you the question.
Why am I so scared?
Yeah, you've had sriracha before. All right. So what has comedy taught you about your faith?
I'm way more of a baby than I thought. One sec.
This won't go well if you're already off them.
I'll be fine. What has comedy taught me about my faith?
Uh-huh.
Okay. What a lovely question. I think that I'm sorry, I'm thinking a lot.
You didn't see any of these questions beforehand. It's all right.
Yeah, thanks. I think okay, this might not be where we're going with it. Comedy has actually helped me understand the gospel more.
Yeah.
Because it has made me so much more okay with failure. So for example, if I'm at an open mic and I tell a joke that doesn't work, I'm pretty excited. Like, it's obviously not fun to not make people laugh, but like, I know that I've learned so much in that. And I still feel like people are rooting for me. And I think that has been a vivid image of how like God is with our sin.
Yeah.
Not that it's a sin to not tell a good joke. Sometimes it is, but but like, but I think seeing purpose in failure and seeing that like my status as a comedian does not change in failure has helped me more deeply understand that my status doesn't change when I fail in like it with God.
I like that.
That's kind of a short answer, but that's what I feel.
I think it's a great answer.
Okay.
Would you get us another chip?
Uh-huh.
So for this one, we're going to, and I'll put mine on first. We're going to do Anderson Pepper Companies.
Okay.
I don't know. I think this isn't spicy. I thought it was less spicy than sriracha. So you might get a little reprieve on this one. I don't know. Ooh, that's a lot. I'm gonna let you pour yours on. Oh man.
Sorry.
I'm gonna eat this for a second.
Do you want me to go get up and get that?
That might be spicier. So my question would be, while you take your bite, what do you wish Emily of today could tell high school Emily about life and faith?
I'm trying to figure out if it's worse or not. Woo. So far it's just kind of fun.
Okay, good.
So much. I actually wrote an article called Jesus Loves Me, This I Don't Know.
This I don't know. I like that.
I was pretty proud of that title. Gosh, so much. When I used to be really embarrassed by high school Emily.
Okay.
In high school Emily's spirituality. Like I used to be like, she was so self-righteous and so annoying. And she thought she knew everything and thought she was better than everybody. But now I just have a lot of compassion for her because I realize like homegirl was just trying to figure it out and homegirl was 15, 16.
Sure.
Gosh, I just want to hug her and tell her that like this is, and I'm not going to cry because of the hot sauce, like that God really does love her exactly as she is.
Yeah.
And that God wants people to know what she has to say. And that the gospel is so much more bigger and inclusive and that God is so much more bigger than theology can comprehend.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. It's
really
making me all emo.
It's not the hot sauce.
Yet.
All right. Well, we're going to get a third one here. And while we do, Dustin, you got a mic over there. You're older than both of us, not by a lot. But while we load this next one, what would you tell your younger self about life and faith? Like, what have you learned now in your 40 years of life?
Well, this is going to be particularly interesting for folks that are watching on YouTube.
Right.
Because they can't see me.
There's no camera for you.
Yeah.
This is the voice of God.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't super... I went to church, but I wasn't super into it. Like I was into the girls and stuff when I was young. And then I got super into it and went to Bible college and all that stuff. And I would just probably say, look, man, like mercy and grace are real, and maybe show some to yourself every once in a while.
Oof. Because
I had to be perfect. And even though I wasn't perfect and I knew I wasn't perfect, I could hide my sin perfectly. And as long as no one knew, as long as other people saw that I thought I was perfect, I was okay. And also there's this thing called anxiety. 6-year-old Dustin, look into it.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff that you went through that you thought was just like having panic attacks and stuff, there's like, you can get help with that. So that's what I'd say.
Can I add to my answer? Because Dustin had such a good answer.
Yeah. Those are both really good answers.
Yeah. Also, you have to answer, obviously. But I also want to say that like being a good theologian doesn't mean hating myself. Because I thought that God was so disgusted by me and my sin that in order, if I was disgusted with me, then I was closer to the heart of God. Yeah. I really thought that.
That's interesting.
That's horrible.
That is pretty brutal. Yeah, for me, I don't know. I think I would say that you don't have to be perfect. I think that was my biggest thing. When I finally became a part of the collective, I thought I had to be perfect. And so now knowing that's not a part of it, I think is an important shift. So, but you're looking at the bottle. It's got a high heat index on it. Small axe peppers, habanero, mango. I think it's really delicious. I put this on everything, but I think it's a little hotter. So take a bite. And your question is, and the answer could be nothing. So hear that. What about deconstruction and the process for the church and its individuals gives you hope for the church? What about deconstruction gives you hope for the church? Is that the question or is that hotter?
I'm going to maybe use some expletives in this episode.
That's quite all right.
Dustin can bleep me out if he needs to. Oh my God. I'm just thinking right now about the people listening to this and not watching it
Yeah.
and being like, what is happening?
If you don't watch us on YouTube, this is a great episode to go to our YouTube and watch it.
Okay.
Before you answer, is this the hottest thing you've ever eaten?
Maybe. Yeah.
No, it's going to get worse.
Okay. What gives me why deconstruction gives me hope for the church.
Yep.
Don't touch your eyes.
Yeah, don't touch your eyes.
Is I think that the heart. So just now I'm mad. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm sorry to everyone who's watching this. It gives me hope for the church. Indeed, every time I talk, it gets hotter.
Water's the worst.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll answer. You want me to take a second, or you want to go?
I can do this.
Okay, you got it.
What gives me hope for the church is that I think that if we are fallible people, oh my God, this is brutal. If we are fallible people, then we always need to be willing to be questioning ourselves, because ultimately theology is fallible and man-made.
Mm-hmm.
We always have to be willing to take another look at stuff. In a sense, I think that's something really good about the Reformation. And Martin Luther said, reformed and always reforming. And yeah, I feel like people who are Protestants were like, cool, we're done after the Reformation.
Yeah, no longer reforming.
And I think if we want to have a heart of reforming, which I do think we should, then I think that we should always be having this critical eye when we do. But also, why deconstruction gives me so much hope for the church is because I truly believe that this is a movement that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that people are seeing a truer and more beautiful picture of who God really is. I made it. What's your answer?
I would say very similar. I think it gives me hope because in watching people that the church has said don't care about church. And you've said this before, like they deeply care. That's why they're deconstructing. And they're not only deconstructing, but now they're finding places that they can utilize their gifts in a similar sense that you are to like prophetically speak to the church. I think it's like a prophetic movement to where the church is going. And so I think that gives me hope. New voices, new perspectives coming to the forefront.
Hey, Dustin, is there another one of these?
Can I, well, he gets it. Can I ask you, like, how close are we to your stop button? Like,
no. Oh, I'm stubborn.
Oh, great.
We're going to the end.
Okay. Well, the little one, our mutual friends, Aaron and Austin gave that to me. And I've put a syringe dab on and I've never touched it again because it was the hottest thing I've ever had.
Maybe we won't do that one.
So we might avoid that one. But I brought just in case, like you were like had the highest spice threshold of anyone that I'd ever met before.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I get mild at Buffalo Wild Wings and usually have not this bad of a reaction, but I'm usually struggling.
Are you ready for our next one?
Mm-hmm. God. Okay. I'm fine. Great.
All right. Chip us up.
Actually pretty fun. I was very deeply angry for 1 second while I was experiencing that.
I could tell. I'm really sorry. I gave you a pretty epic dab on that one. So I'm going to go lighter on this one. This one's, I think, pretty hot too. So this is Melinda's Ghost Pepper Wing Sauce. So cheers. Let's take a bite real quick. This question might be really good for the wing that you're going through. What would you say the most painful part of deconstruction is?
This right now. Oh my gosh.
The worst part about trying to produce a podcast like this is just, the levels. Because generally when you
I'm
speak,
sorry.
No. It's not you. It's just like, you can't help it. There's nothing you can do. But like, it just
ups and downs.
Yeah.
Ups and downs.
What was the question?
What has been the most painful part of your deconstruction process?
A few things. Oh my gosh. Did anyone when you did this have this intense of a reaction?
Yeah, we were over Zoom, essentially StreamYard, and people would just mute themselves and just like go off verbally, but we could watch them. I'll have to go find the YouTube and share it as this episode comes out.
It's getting worse. Okay.
And this is to not like, these are we use much hotter ones on Hot Thoughts though. So.
Okay, great. Good for you guys.
I didn't want to kill my co-host, so
a few hard things about deconstruction are God. I was trying really hard to not say bad words. I am so deeply uncomfortable right now. A few hard things about deconstruction. One, as a people pleaser, it's been really hard to get the pushback I've gotten. And I feel like I've lost people's good opinions of me. And to also, when people question my salvation, that really hurts my feelings. A lot. Makes me angry. Like, and frustrated.
That would even come up as a question.
Yeah, like, screw you, man. If you, not you. Right now, kind of. But, like, just have enough, like, faith in who God is. God, what does God say? He said, salvation belongs to me, says the Lord.
Yeah.
So if God is so powerful, then why are you so nervous? Because it wasn't actually about God. It was about your control over me.
Yeah.
Anyway, also, it's just deeply, deeply, there's so much grief involved. And I know we've already talked about that. It is so hard. It feels like I'm grieving two different deaths.
Ooh.
A death of this relationship. Just kidding. The death of who Emily was and the death of who I thought God was.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm glad both of them are dying. They weren't very kind. I like the Emily I know now and the God I know now are much more loving. And I like both of them a whole lot more. But they were still deeply a part of me. And like our good friend Aaron, he'll talk about Joel Osteen and he's like, I don't love what he says, but that guy got me through some tough times. And so
that's funny.
And like sometimes I feel that way about the God I used to believe in. Like, man, that God really didn't like me. But also I leaned on him for a lot.
Yeah. That's an interesting like thought process though, to understand like the value of a season of life, even if it wasn't the one that's the most productive for where you're at, right? It's good. Are you ready for the last one?
Yeah. Also the certainty. We've talked about that. Grieving certainty is hard.
Yeah.
I'll get a chip. God damn.
And I've made a
I'm sorry, Dustin.
I've made a decision. I'm gonna do this last one. It's really hot, but to make up for where you're at,
Yes.
you can ask me the question, so I can be on the hot seat.
Okay.
But we're gonna do this one. This one's gonna be the hottest you've ever had.
Might walk out the door.
Oh, sorry. I should probably shake
I'm
it.
glad people are getting entertainment out of this. Did you bring milk or something?
I should have. I thought about how much of a jerk I was when I like just on this last wing, last chip, how there wasn't any sauces or anything or milks.
Please don't give me a lot on this one.
I'm trying.
Seems like you're shaking it pretty hard.
I'm just trying to get some out of it.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm sorry, tongue. You are
If there was a time for sponsor breaks, this would be it.
Hey, what's your question? I just want to say I appreciate you and our friendship so much, and I'm sorry that I'm being a jerk right now. I'm just going through something.
Oh, I'm being the jerk. But the question actually does lend well. What's been your favorite part of this podcast?
Aw, that's such a wholesome question for what I'm feeling right now.
I thought you wouldn't be in a place to be able to process as well as the first couple questions.
My favorite part about this podcast has been I'm actually doing okay right now.
Oh, great. Then we'll do the last one together.
Honestly, fine. I'm in it. I'm stubborn enough that I'll be like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. I'll buy your lunch after this.
Done. What was the question? Favorite part about this podcast? It's been cool to see the people who have like come out of the woodworks and listened to our podcast and been like, one, Emily, like, thanks for processing through your journey.
Mm-hmm.
Then also, like, I got a message today that said, like, from someone older in my life and my family, who said, like, I didn't know there was or I'm so glad there's a name now to what I went through years and years ago. And I think that's been a really cool thing is me who I'm 22, have older people in my life.
Sure.
Like my grandma say like she listened to our Bible episode and she said, Emily, I feel like now I can actually enter into the Bible again. And I feel really led by you in that. And I was like,
yeah. Well, probably even more like interesting for you to hear that as someone that didn't think you had that ability to even have that voice in the first place, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's been huge. Like when I talk about this podcast with people, I'm like, it's really cool that my pastor values my voice so much that he wants to like
burn your face off.
Put it online.
Yeah.
I'm going to ignore that you said that. But also just to see like, I really do think it has helped people.
Yeah. It's good.
And that makes me feel some type of way. What is your favorite part about this podcast?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot actually, like going through and I want to figure out a way in the seasons to come how we can really capture this, but actually off camera, like I've really enjoyed the three of our conversation.
I agree.
And I think that's a lot of what has been driving this is we're trying to capture really cool theological conversations I think everyone would have, but get nervous to have when there's a microphone in front of their face. And we're trying to, with as much vulnerability as we can, have those conversations. So I've enjoyed it. Dustin, have you had a favorite part of this podcast for you? Have you learned anything unique or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've had a lot of questions that I guess was bouncing around in my head that I didn't necessarily put words to in a coherent sentence. And actually, I think, Emily, you've been really brave, and having you like be brave in the way that you've been brave, because I think I was pretty black and white for a long, long time. And when I was black and white, it did justify me, because I thought, well, I know the answer. This is the answer. And to have you be able to say vulnerable things that I almost would like gasp and be like, I could never say that. I wouldn't even say it, let alone to a pastor or let alone on a microphone that's going to get published on the internet. So I think that's been really cool. That's been really cool to see. And you guys don't know this, but my wife's been listening to the podcast. She's been going through some things. It's been really helpful for her. So I respect and appreciate that.
Yeah.
That is so nice. What the heck, Dustin?
Yeah. I think it's been a really cool podcast and I've enjoyed it. And I think even my wife has listened to it and she's learned a lot. So I would say this isn't we've really torn you down with hot sauces, but this isn't just the build you up episode. I think a lot of people have really appreciated your perspective, because not only is it, I think, deeply theological, it's also like speaking to a pressure point people didn't know they were allowed to have. So I think it's been good.
And one thing that you've said that I've really appreciated is like, I feel like I haven't, how may I say this? In a sense, I haven't felt super represented in the deconstruction conversation as someone who grew up Reformed. That's often not talked about.
Sure.
And so it's been cool to be able to talk about my very specific experience as growing up very Calvinist and how that really deeply affected me and my deconstruction, and how other people are like, oh, I grew up that way too. Like, it makes me feel less alone, I guess.
I think that's...
And I hope it has for other people as well.
I think if there was there's lots of wins out of this, but I think being less alone, that's a major win. So our last sauce, it's called the End. I think it's a appropriate one. It says ingredients: vinegar, habanero pepper, Reaper peppers, extract. Pretty hot. I put it on one thing. Extremely hot, caution. Dustin, I made you a chip if you want one. So I think this is really hot. I've only had one, but our friends Austin and Aaron gave this to us. So before we all take one, do you have a question? I only made 5 questions. Like, what might be an interesting question for us to process as we go through this? We can make it
There's a question on my mind that's pretty
saucy.
Yeah, that maybe we could cut out if you don't want to talk about it.
Oof.
Okay.
That makes me nervous. But that's podcast. So you say the question, I'll give the chips to everybody.
Do you want to say it right now? Yeah. You can totally say, I don't want to answer this. So in our last episode, we were talking about, I almost asked you this in our last episode, because we were talking about the cost of being in a place that, or the cost of exclusion and the cost of inclusion. I'm scared to ask you this. Why is it important to you to stay in the UMC when they won't ordain LGBTQ people?
Oh, that is a really good question.
Are you okay to answer that? Okay.
And then I would like to flip the question because I want all of us to engage in it. So you can speak against or for what's the harm or the good in doing that, your perspective. But cheers, friends.
You probably led me to this question because there's some anger going on.
Yeah, you're like, I got to throw the question that I was mad about. Cheers. That's pure heat.
More water than this.
You want mine? I don't have COVID. All right. So why stay in a denomination that is actively speaking against and harming people I really deeply care about and love? And I think I'll answer this question alone. I think that's a good question. Just so you guys know, Emily is still here. She's directly across from me off camera. You gonna make it?
Just talk.
I think it's a bummer. I don't love this part of the denomination that I'm in. And I think the reason that we're staying a part of it is I think theologically, other than this one issue, we have one of the greatest articulations of the gospel story and understandings of grace. And we have a great opportunity to witness and evangelize to people. I think I want you to know that it's burning my face too. I just want you to know you're not alone in this. Sticking with things when it gets tough is important to me. Now, I would say to what you said earlier, it doesn't cost me anything to stand there because I'm a straight guy. But I think I'm also trying to model that you can speak against oppression and against things you disagree with without ejecting from the system. Not all disagreement has to end in divorce. And so I'm trying to push to where that is and see how we can get there. So should I just end the episode?
But for example,
the water's making it.
what will make it better, Dustin? Where's the chips?
Oh yeah, here you go. These might help. Those will help. Let me take one for the
my
rip.
God, okay.
Dustin, how you holding up there?
I can confirm that was hot.
You're bawling. Here.
But even when you're speaking against something, like, I get it. But someone said the same thing to me when I was in my denomination. Because they were like, Emily, you have a lot to say, but they'll never give you a voice to say it.
Yeah. But we will give these people a voice to say it. And our church is specifically creating that, even if our denomination doesn't affirm it. Which, speaking of things that I could say that might cost me something. So, but yeah, I think we're going to include and invite people into every level of activity and leadership until our denomination acknowledges it, not wait for them to affirm us to do it.
But if a gay person wanted to be a pastor at the well, they couldn't do it.
They could do it in the context of the well. They might be able to get ordained as a Methodist pastor in the year 2022. But we have gay people serving in leadership.
Okay.
So I'm not defending. I would say it's a sticky thing and something that I wish I had a better answer for. But I think from my vantage point, I wrestle with this in terms of like, it doesn't cost me anything, but is the best thing to pull out and move away or to fight from within? And I chose fight from within.
If it was women, would you still be in the UMC?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
If it was black people, would you still stay in the UMC?
No.
If it was divorced people, would you still stay in the UMC? I'm sorry, I'm mad right now, so you're getting my heat.
Yeah, I think that's a valid question. But there were also men that fought to push the ball forward when it became women. And again, it's not a compelling place to be, but if everyone left the battlefield because it and just went to go create their own sandbox, then we'd have a million sandboxes that were, I think we got to do some sort of work together.
Why not go to like the UU or something? Sorry, I'm fighting you right now.
I don't like their theology as much.
Yeah. A basketball?
I want to play basketball.
Episcopal?
Too traditional for me.
What
I'm a
is that?
United Methodist.
Okay. But United Methodists don't ordain gay people.
Yeah. Dustin, what do you think about staying in the system when you disagree with it?
I'm not the right guy to answer this. I'm not a systems guy. So
you would leave. You'd go to your...
I would have never been in this system to start with.
Well, maybe I'm the odd man out.
No, I don't think that. I mean, there's a lot of people in systems, and there's a lot of comfort, I think, in denominations. But I also think there's a lot of... what am I trying to say? This is the reason I'm on the other side.
Sure.
I'm not on the mic, right? Because I can't speak.
No, you speak
clearly. No, I think there's a lot of checks and balances in denominations that I think is healthy if they worked.
Yeah, unhelpful sometimes, healthy sometimes.
I mean, I think it's always healthy to have someone like a brother, checking on you, making sure, or a sister.
What did you say?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the word I couldn't think of. It's good to have accountability, but I will say that if the person trying to hold you accountable is a dirtbag, then it doesn't really work.
Yeah. Now that I have a little more of my mental faculties back, I would say also.
I'm sorry if I'm being a total jerk right
now.
No,
you're not. I think there are prophets in the Old Testament, right? And they pushed from within.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Thanks. I wish I would have thought about that. My tongue, it feels like it's double the size right now. So I do.
I will say that I have held the similar mindset or worldview, which was I got to rattle the cage from the inside.
Sure.
And then it never worked. I've never personally seen it work, but I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying maybe I wasn't bold enough or didn't have the right words or whatever. But
the thing is you can only rattle from the cage from the inside if you're allowed to rattle the cage from the inside. So for me, when I was a Presbyterian, I couldn't rattle the cage from the inside. So I was like, screw you guys, bye.
Sure. But you're still rattling the cage. Your voice, even if
I rattled the cage by leaving. I'm really sorry. I don't actually feel this intense. I'm just really...
But why? I mean, no cage rattlers are allowed.
Okay.
I mean, what would have happened if you would have really just grabbed those bars and started shaking?
They would be like, why do you have bars? You're a woman.
They'd kick you out. They'd be like,
there are women MCs who spit bars, Emily. That's disrespectful.
That was a rap
That's not what I
joke.
meant, Dustin.
That's a rap joke.
I can't.
I don't
joke at a
understand.
time like this.
I don't understand what the joke.
Should I be joking at a time like this? You know that song?
I don't. I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting conversation though, because I wrestle with it and I think I'm good. Those are yours. That's my gift to you. But I think it's the right question to be asking and not an unfair. I think that's hopefully what we're modeling in this podcast. We can ask hard questions and we can maybe not have all the right answers, but speak from the truth of where we're at. And I think that's the hard thing is like to leave is not easier or harder, but I think I see more fruit in fighting for the justice within the system rather than going and starting my own country. Or like I wouldn't go and be non-denominational because I'm a kind of person that needs like a system.
I agree with that.
And I deeply feel United Methodist. And so like to be like, I'm going to leave to go to somewhere else that in 20 years will have another thing that I'm going to dislike and have to like fight about. Like, why not be the voice of dissent and truth rather than it's like Americans saying like, I'm going to move to Canada because they didn't like the person that was elected. Like that's actually like a more of a cop, like stay here and fight for the change you want to see.
But if I moved to Canada, maybe America would be like, oh, damn.
Maybe. Or maybe they'd be like, oh, yeah.
Now we just have people that agree with us and then nothing changes.
But
Dang,
Emily,
that's a good point.
but Emily, don't you go to a United Methodist church?
Yeah, I do.
Why do you go to the Methodist church that won't ordain?
I'm just asking a question.
That's all I'm doing.
I don't need to be under scrutiny right now. This lot goes on. Well, I mean, can I be honest and say I'm wrestling with that? I love the well and I love being there. But that's a thing that, again, doesn't cost me anything to go to that church because that my voice is valued. And it's been interesting to be on the other side of a privilege and that if I wanted to, I could get ordained in the UMC. And I have friends who couldn't. And I've never been on that side of privilege. And so that is something I'm wrestling with, which is why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me maybe as much as it should because it doesn't cost me.
Yeah. I wonder, I don't know if this is a good question, but it's also, is it binary? Like if it doesn't cost, so say it costs our LGBTQ friends, right? Doesn't cost me anything. Like leaving, is that a binary? Like we've left and now we've eliminated all cost. It's only a win, or is there a cost that's incurred by leaving? Like that's my thing is like, I think there's always a cost to something and always collateral damage. And I think, and this isn't a good answer, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I think there's always going to be bumps along the way and damage that's that comes along. But trying to fight for a more holy and inclusive place on the other end, if that's like, if the heart of the intent is pure, then I think the actions and the process can't be that. And again, it doesn't cost me anything to say that. Like I have several friends that I meet with that are like, I wish I could get ordained. And how do you go about supporting them? And I'm like, I'm going to support you with my voice and my time and my privilege the best I can. But I also not the one that gets to ordain them and makes those decisions. And so I think it's a hard discussion.
And like, I guess the reason why I'm sensitive to that logic, even though I absolutely understand it, is that's what kept me in my old denomination for a really long time. Is everyone said, well, if you switch denominations, you're just going to switch the problems right now to different problems. And I'm choosing these problems. And I was like, that's a good point. There's going to be problems everywhere. At least we take the Bible seriously. But so I guess that's why I'm sensitive to it, is because I've been on the other end and it hasn't gotten me anything to like speak out, because what we actually needed, what we actually needed is the men who had power to say something.
Sure.
Which I guess is what you're doing.
Trying to.
I love that. Are you feeling attacked right now?
No.
Okay. I'm really sorry if I'm being a jerk.
I feel like that hot sauce came at you pretty hard.
I'm really sorry if I was really mean.
I think I maybe said things that I'd be interested to listen back to this and like listen to. The hard thing is like I am a verbal processor, and so I have to like work to my thoughts. But yeah, I think this is what I would say. What you're asking is out of a deep place of caring about both me, but also the people that you know that we're both friends with. And I think people that other people that you're friends with, that you're walking this journey and you're sensitive to that. And so I think that's an important question to be asking. So I don't hear it out of a malicious place. It's out of like, I care for people in my life.
So your feelings aren't hurt?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I think we should be done.
I thought this podcast was going to be like 4 minutes long because I gave a very short answer the first time. And there's probably gonna be a lot of silence and expletives in this episode, but it's probably gonna be pretty funny.
It'll be something. So, well, I'll take the sign off for you this week.
Thank
so
you.
we're excited that you joined us, and this hopefully was fun. And as you go along this journey of deconstruction, embrace that journey.
Embrace the journey.
Okay.